Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. Thomas Frank kicks off his Champions League journey with a gritty 1-0 win over Villarreal. From an early goalkeeper howler to Spurs' rock-solid defence, here's every word the boss had to say after his first European triumph. Thomas Frank was happy to record his first Champions League victory with a 1-0 win against Villarreal on Tuesday night, and we've got every single word the Tottenham head coach said. The only goal of the game came just 4 minutes, with a woeful error from Villarreal goalkeeper Luis Jr. Lucas Bergvall hammered in a low cross and the keeper dived down but spilled it out of his hands, across his body and into the net. It was the most eventful moment of a tight game that featured only a single shot on target, from Pape Matar Sarr, and a couple of half-hearted Spurs penalty appeals rejected by the referee, and VAR in the first half, and then Mickey van der Ven and Xavi Simons both escaped potential red cards in the second period. Tottenham held on to their lead to kick off their Champions League return with a narrow victory and another clean sheet. Our Tottenham correspondent Alistair Gold was among those putting the questions to Frank after the game. Here's the full transcript from the Danes press conference at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Thank you. I thought it was a big win. In any competition, it's good to get 3 points and get a good start. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the clean sheet. I'm happy with the defensive side of the game. I think we were extremely good and limited Villarreal to very little throughout the game. They were a good team I really admire. Obviously, offensively, we struggled on the day to create something against a good team. They also defended very well, which we knew in the 4-4-2 structure. They were very aggressive. When we were on the day, I think they needed the highest level in terms of touch, pass and decision making, and they nailed that. Then it was a very even game that we edged in the end. What I like is that our foundation is strong. Now we are 4 games won, 3 in the Premier League, 1 in the Champions League, and we have 4 sheets, which is massive. Obviously, we are building the offensive structure more and more. Xavi Simons has just come into the club. It's fair to say he and Jed need a little relationship, of course, to get going. No complaints, it's just natural. I think there was a spell in the second half where we decided to give the ball away every single time we had it. We gave the ball away, let's bring it back. Oh, give it away, let's bring it back. Of course, it's a little bit easier to sit here with a smile, but of course, at that level, we will raise, of course. Of course, just at the moment, it didn't look top. Sometimes I can clearly see penalties and yellow cards when it's going our way. This time, there was a little bit of need to hope, but when I've seen it back, clearly, outside our box, clearly he's a little bit in front. It's a free kick and a 0 call. Yeah, I think actually, we got some good runs from Lucas and Pape on the sides. When we were a little bit deeper, I think that worked okay. I think it was too few times that we got it high enough and got played a run and produced the crosses we wanted. That was probably the thing that didn't edge enough throughout the game. But there were actually quite a few situations where we got both to Kudus and to Xavi where we didn't produce what we should. Now, I think there could be many reasons. I also think there were 3, 4, 5 times where he should have had the ball quicker to create something. But around the day, it was just unfortunate. Yeah, I agree with you. The Champions League is unbelievably tough. It was a very good team we faced today and managed to get out of a very tight game as winners. With that feeling that you fight and run and you do a lot of things as a group together and then get out on top and win, it's exceptionally good. It just builds that extra foundation, extra layers. And sometimes when you can't hit the highest level and still get away with a win, in an even game, I think it's fantastic. This team, these players, we will score goals. There's no doubt of that. I know we only scored an own goal today, but we will score goals. I'm not in doubt of that. I think the big thing was that we needed to defend better. So we worked very, very hard on structure, key principles, recovery runs, doing the tough job. That gives you a top opportunity to win games, and we've proven that so far. Yeah, maybe. I haven't looked into it. I think there was one on that transition you could maybe discuss. Just because it looks dangerous, it can't be a yellow all the time. But of course, I understand why you asked the question. So yeah, a new era is dawning at Tottenham Hotspur. From protests outside the stadium under Daniel Levy, to Europa League redemption under Ange Postecoglou, and now the bold appointment of Thomas Frank, the buzz around Spurs feels like a fresh start. With new faces in the boardroom, Champions League nights returning, and fans daring to dream big again, could this finally be the beginning of something truly special for Tottenham? The fans have every right to be optimistic, because there is also a buzz around the club at the moment which makes it feel like a fresh start. Just last season there were protests outside the ground against former chairman Daniel Levy because supporters were fed up at the way the club was being run. Ultimately, Tottenham finished the season at the end of Ange Postecoglou's reign by winning the Europa League, and, despite their wretched Premier League form, it gave them a passport back onto European football's biggest stage. Tottenham have been bold as a club since then, by bringing in Thomas Frank as manager, and it was the will of the fans who really drove an even bigger change. Levy was replaced amid a message that Tottenham want more success. We got our first glimpse of the club's new power brokers in the director's box at West Ham last Saturday. There was Viv Lewis, daughter of former owner Joe Lewis, and her son-in-law Nick Butcher were sat with technical director Johan Lange and chief executive Vinay Venkatesham. You can be sure the new hierarchy will relish their first big European night since taking over. Tottenham have been regulars in the Champions League in the past, and even reached the final in 2019. But a failure to build on the team which Mauricio Pochettino built was perhaps the biggest example of the lack of ambition and failings of Levy's reign. The biggest success, of course, is that £1 billion stadium. It deserves to host the biggest European nights. Villarreal will provide a little taste, and they have got big Champions League dates with Borussia Dortmund, and trips to the likes of Paris Saint-Germain and Monaco. Tottenham should reach the knockout stages, and you could sense the excitement as Frank was asked about his first Champions League campaign since taking charge at Spurs. "It's a fantastic opportunity and experience," said Frank. "We're playing in the Champions League in one of the best, maybe the best, stadiums in the world. Tottenham have made such a promising start, 3 wins and a defeat from 4 Premier League games under Frank, and the squad looks stronger. It has been strengthened in key areas, and it looks exciting. No wonder a lot of Spurs fans will feel the shackles are off, and they can dream big again. The hierarchy wants silverware. They have an ambitious manager. They have a chief executive who makes it his business to be in tune with the fans. This is a big moment for Tottenham, and they have to seize the opportunity. After years of frustration and false dawns, Tottenham fans are desperate for a new beginning. The return to the Champions League and a win over Villarreal might just signal the start of something very special." Left out of Spurs' Champions League squad, Mathys Tel could have sulked, but instead he delivered a relentless performance in Tottenham's 3-0 derby win over West Ham. Thomas Frank hailed the 20-year-old as very impressive, after his tireless pressing helped Spurs secure their first victory at the London Stadium in 6 years. Thomas Frank has hailed the very impressive Mathys Tel after bouncing back from his Champions League snub to help Tottenham to a comprehensive 3-0 win at West Ham. Tel, 20, who spent the second half of last season at Spurs before completing a £30 million permanent move from Bayern Munich in the summer, was informed that he had been left out of their squad for Europe's elite club competition earlier this week. Frank had to trim his contingent from 25 to 22 due to a lack of club-trained players, and Tel was among them to be cut ahead of Tuesday's clash with Villarreal, along with Radu Dragusin, Yves Bissouma, James Maddison, Dejan Kulusevski, Kota Takai. Despite this, Frank named Tel in his starting 11 to face West Ham on Saturday. The France under-21s international began as the centre-forward, with Xavi Simons on the left and Mohamed Kudus on the other side. While Tel's performance was not through the roof, Frank was in awe of his work rate, and pressing having been denied a place in Tottenham's Champions League squad until at least February. Speaking in his post-match press conference, Frank said, "I think Mathys, very impressive. The performance was maybe not through the roof, but it was very solid. I would say 7 out of 10. Worked hard. Pressing, constant pressing. And that's very good also. You know, he's not in the Champions League squad. I'm very happy with the squad. Tottenham ran out comfortable winners at the London Stadium, with Pape Matar Sarr, Lucas Bergvall and Mickey van der Ven finding the back of the net. In truth, it could have been more for Spurs, who registered more shots on target, and more clear-cut chances than their opponents. I think the first 15 to 20 minutes was even, not too much happened, but then I think we really grew into it. And the last 20 or 25, something like that, I think we dominated and created a lot of good opportunities without having too many big chances," Frank added. We had really a lot of dangerous situations, and we know in football sometimes it's also about getting closer and closer and closer. And then suddenly there's that opening where you can score. West Ham defended very well first half. It was difficult to get the clear-cut chances, but when we got it to Xavi and Mo on the sides, and played and run, produced crosses, either in swing or overlap and so on, and a lot of corners where we also were very dangerous. So, happy that the goal came second half, because you never know. The momentum can change after half-time. But we kept going and scored a good goal after, and then 3-0. Done. So, a very good clear win, a good performance. We all know the derby and the importance of the game for the fans. And I think it's a testament to the boys and the group we haven't won here in 6 years. It shows everything how difficult it is to play here, and now we won 3-0 today. I think that's impressive.